GolfNewsRI presents the Golf Dudes Podcast. Here are the dudes.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Golf Dudes Podcast. I'm Joe Calabro, and joining me today, we welcome back the prodigal son for the first time in like a month or so. Rich Cappalli returns to the podcast. Rich, it's good to see you. Where have you been? How have you been?
And just had to play Santa for like 8 weeks. Picked up some extra shifts at work because there ain't nothing else to do. It's disgusting out. But yeah, everything's all right. Everything's back to normal now. Normal shift, normal hours, normal schedule. So everything's pretty much back to normal.
Good. Well, happy to have you back. You picked a good week to come back because there's a lot of stuff going on, and there's been a lot of stuff going on. PGA Tour returns, of course, or has returned, of course. The Netflix trailer dropped on Wednesday, so that was exciting, and we'll get into some of that. Obviously, a couple of local things going on, but first we should tell you that the Golf Dudes Podcast is brought to you by Lynx Drinks. Lynx Drinks is best known for their transfusions in a can. They have 3 different flavors: the back 9, the front 9, or the front 9 and the back 9, whichever one you prefer, and then the obviously regular transfusion. So check out Lynx Drinks at liquor stores and country clubs near you. There are about 20 golf clubs across the state. So thanks to Lynx Drinks for their continued support, and looking forward to doing some stuff with them this year. And we're also happy to be launching the GolfNewsRI podcast network, and our second podcast called Expand Your Brand. They tape on Saturday morning, so super excited for that, for their first episode. And the podcast network is going to be exclusively sponsored by Vintage Cigar Bar and Lounge down in Westerly and Charleston. So we're excited to be working with them, and more to come on that later. Anyways, now that we got the business out of the way, let's get to some of the golf. We want to get to the PGA Tour. I'm interested in Rich's takes on PGA Tour storylines to watch. Obviously, the Netflix trailer was fire yesterday. I think a lot of people excited. But a couple of local things just to hit on quickly. Obviously, the big story of the week: Pleasant Valley was finally sold for $4.1 million. To me, that doesn't sound like a lot of money regarding a golf course. So maybe they've been trying to get out of that for years. So maybe they just kind of dumped it, but it's going to stay a golf course. It's going to stay private, but they are going to open the restaurant to the public, and obviously the banquet hall and stuff for weddings is public. My parents actually got married at Pleasant Valley, so it's kind of funny. But yeah, Pleasant Valley, a historic course, has hosted all kinds of PGA Tour tournaments and LPGA Tour stuff back in the day. Sam Snead played there, Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus. The first couple of CBS Classics were actually there back in the very early days. So that was a big story this week, big news. And, hopefully the new owners who are invested in golf, they keep it nice and keep the place historic.
So. Yeah, I've never played there before, so I don't really know of it or anything like that. But yeah, it's good to see that golf courses are staying golf courses.
Yeah, and it's interesting. This news came like a week or two after we had published a story about Kathy Whitworth and her history and career at Pleasant Valley, competing in the LPGA championships. Obviously, Kathy Whitworth just passed away last month or so. Kind of two things coming into one. So a lot of Pleasant Valley content, but I never played there either. I've never been there. Years ago, and I said this, I tried writing a book about Pleasant Valley. I wanted to write a book about Pleasant Valley, and I still kind of do, about just the history and the people that have been there and some of the stories with Arnold Palmer and Arnie's Army walking the fairways of Pleasant Valley, and some of the stuff that's happened there over the years. And then I had a bunch of chapters written, and all the chapters were all the different tournaments that they had there, and then my computer shit the bed, and I lost everything, and I just haven't had the motivation to rewrite it. But I would still like to do it. It was a fun project. I mean, I put a lot of research into it, obviously. But anyway, that's my Pleasant Valley story. So big news there in the local front. And again, 4.1 million to me doesn't sound like a ton of money for a golf course. I actually talked to some people about it. But hey, they sold it. Maybe they just wanted to kind of get out from under it after years of trying to sell. I mean, Pleasant Valley's been on the block for a while, on and off the block for a while, it feels like. So it's going to stay a golf course, it's going to stay private, so that's good. It's not turning into like a CVS or something like that. So that was the first big story of the week. Pleasant Valley sold to 2 new owners, and so congrats to the new owners on buying it, and hopefully they continue to keep up the history of it, because it really is kind of an iconic place that really no one even knows about. To be honest with you, I didn't know anything about the history of Pleasant Valley until I started
had no idea. Yeah.
researching it for the book. And my friend sent me a picture of they have a list of the tournaments and winners that played there on their wall in the clubhouse. I was like, holy crap, what a place. Anyway.
Yeah.
So it's quite a place, and hopefully it remains that way. I'm sure it will be. And the other big story, unfortunately, he doesn't start until Sunday because Korn Ferry Tour, but Davis Chatfield set to make his Korn Ferry Tour debut on Sunday, his first of 8 tournaments. He's exempt through the first 8 tournaments of the year. So he's at 2. So the Korn Ferry Tour, they reshuffle after every 4 tournaments as far as priority. So he gets exempt through 2 reshuffles basically. And then he obviously has to play well to earn more stars, but he's got 8 to work with. He starts on Sunday in the Bahamas. Doesn't suck. The first 2 tournaments are actually in the Bahamas, and then he's got to go. He flies all over the country. It's kind of nuts, actually, but anyway. But a big day, certainly for local golf. A big deal to have him or anybody playing in the Korn Ferry Tour. And I don't know how many people have followed the Korn Ferry Tour before, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of people following the live scoring on Sunday morning.
Yeah, it's big deal, really big deal. A lot of social media is getting into the whole making the tour / getting your card type of thing. So it's nice to get these kids some recognition finally.
Yeah, I mean, that's like we've talked about before. That's kind of real golf. That's when you're
I mean, a lot of, I think what was it? Good has what's his name? Luke Kwan, I think. And then who's the other one? Bob Does Sports has not Bob Does Sports. What's the other one? I can't remember his name. It'll come to me. But yeah, a lot of these guys are hooking up with brands and stuff like that, which is getting the notoriety. And when they hook up with these social media brands, they're getting their name out there a lot more than even the PGA would. So it's good to see that these guys are actually doing good for themselves and basically making money playing golf. It's just a good thing,
Right, they're making money playing golf, but it's also helping them with expenses because they're gonna.
Yeah, of course, yeah, and they're making
a
crap ton more money than they would be if they were just finishing 13th on the Korn Ferry Tour. You know what I mean?
I know. Davis has a bunch of sponsors. Not a bunch. I don't want to say. I don't want to say a bunch of sponsors, but he has a few sponsors that are helping him out. Obviously, his family's helping him out, number one. But Escalade, Cadillac Escalade is one of his sponsors, and his shirt company is Holderness and Born.
Okay.
So that's recording. He posted that stuff on his Instagram page. All his shirts and stuff for the year, I guess. Must be nice. And his bag is not too terrible. The bag looks pretty cool, actually. Anyway, so that starts on Sunday. So I'm gonna have a full preview, maybe tomorrow or Saturday. I kind of been procrastinating on it because, with the thing starting on Sunday, it's like, well, when do you put the preview up? Like, I'm not gonna put it up like the Monday before. It's like,
yeah,
he starts in like a week. Plus, I'm waiting to see some other information. A great follow, other than us, of course, for all this is Monday Q Info. He does a great job and he's releasing a documentary series called The Grind. So he does a great job. I actually met him, as you know, a couple years ago, last year at Triggs. He came to watch a tournament at Triggs. But anyway, so that's gonna be really exciting. We'll have a preview. I'll talk about his schedule. It's just the first 8 tournaments of the year. Again, he has 2 reshuffles. The Korn Ferry Tour reshuffles priority after 4 tournaments. So he's exempt through 2, and then after that, he's kind of on his own. So obviously, he has to play well. That's the idea. Obviously, one or two. He's got 8. So 1 or 2 bad tournaments. If he struggles at the beginning, which you wouldn't blame him. It's new. It's a new world. It's not the end of the world. But obviously, he has to ramp up and play well, and I'm sure he will. I don't know much about the courses that they're playing in the Bahamas and stuff, but judging from the pictures that the Korn Ferry Tour has tweeted out, it doesn't look like it sucks. So,
yeah.
So that's positive. So Sunday's gonna be a big day for that. Again, I'll have a preview up, and we'll see what else we can do with it. I'm debating on launching a Davis Chatfield tracker, so they have all these tracker pages and stuff. But problem is, it's not on TV, and I got to see what kind of tracking the Korn Ferry Tour leaderboard has.
They probably don't. They probably don't have much.
They're just going to change the scores every so often. That's kind of pointless,
Yeah.
Because, like, for example, when Patrick played on the PGA Tour, that they had like the virtual simulator thing that you could see, like you said, first shot in the fairway, second shot to the green, 300 yards, 200 yards, whatever it was. So that's what they gave us some information that you could use. And obviously, we're not there, so we'll see. Maybe we'll skip the first term and see what it looks like, and then do the second one. But I always wanted to do like one of those tracker pages, but it would be fun. And now we actually have people to track. So anyway, so there's that. So two big things there this week, and it's pretty good for January when we're trying to cram for content. PGA Tour is underway. Sony Open will be will be in action tonight. Of course, nothing better than primetime golf, for sure. So let's do this. Let's take a commercial break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about PGA Tour, which is Richard's forte, and also we'll break down that trailer that dropped yesterday, that Netflix dropped about the Full Swing docu-series, which should be pretty exciting. So this is the Golf Dudes podcast. We'll be right back. Billy Andre joins the show. Billy, thanks so much for doing this, and we appreciate you taking the time.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I'm very excited to be joined by an 11-time Emmy Award winner, and that is Armin Katayan. Massachusetts Women's Amateur Champion Allison Paik.
The days of the country club just being golf and maybe one amenity are gone. Unfortunately, Metacomet doesn't have those.
He has a very rare condition called kyphoscoliotic Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And at the time of diagnosis, there was only 60 documented cases in the world.
I mean, we legitimately played the last 4 holes at Newport National. You could not see 50 yards.
Yeah, welcome back to the Golf Dudes podcast. Joe Calabro. Rich Cappalli returns to the show today. And we started the show talking about the Pleasant Valley deal that broke the golf world this week, or the local golf world anyway. And obviously, we previewed a little bit of Davis Chatfield on the Korn Ferry Tour. I'll have a full preview, in-depth preview with all kinds of stuff coming up within the next day or two. So looking forward to that. So we wanted to get into the PGA Tour. I talked about it a little bit last week on my own, as far as the beginning of the season and some of the interesting things going on. Of course, yesterday, Netflix dropped the trailer for their docuseries called Full Swing, and that airs on February 15th, if I'm not mistaken. So I know there's a lot of anticipation for that, a lot of conversation for that. But let's get into the PGA Tour. Rich hasn't weighed in yet. You haven't weighed in on things in a while, obviously, because you've been being Santa Claus. Your thoughts on this PGA Tour season after obviously what was a crazy year last year with the Live stuff, and Live obviously is not going anywhere, it feels like, but your kind of thoughts on the PGA Tour season.
I'm not gonna lie, I think Live was a bigger, more interesting story than the PGA this year. I mean, the fact that the U.S. Open was at Brookline was fantastic. That was good. And the Masters is the Masters. And Scheffler dominating. What do you get? 4 or 5 wins this season. So, and you had the Ryder Cup too. The massacre that was the Ryder Cup this year. But yeah, I mean, Liv kind of took over the headlines, whether it would be from players, what PGA players were defecting and all that, and the talk about the world ranking points, how they're going to do that, that's still up in the air. Also with the TV deals and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I think Liv was a little bit more popular than the PGA this year. I don't know about what you think.
I mean, I think both. I mean, I think both were fast. I think it was just a fascinating story in there with fascinating content. And I think Liv showed that they're not going away, and they certainly ruffled some feathers in a lot of places. What do you think? What do you project for this season? What are you looking forward to see? Other than obviously the Masters, but for this year on the PGA Tour, this upcoming year, 2023, it's a Ryder Cup year. What storylines are you looking forward
No,
to?
President's Cup this year, isn't it? Wasn't Ryder Cup last year?
President's Cup was last year.
Oh yeah, that's right. And then yeah. More of the same. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like it's kind of the same stuff every year. I enjoy my certain tournaments. Obviously, all 4 majors. The U.S. Open's at what? LA Country Club this year, right?
Correct. Yeah.
The Masters is the Masters. Obviously, I was watching the college football semifinal, and I saw the first Masters commercial come on the TV. That got me all fired up. I was excited about that. But yeah, like I said, the Masters is the Masters. The U.S. Open is the U.S. Open. Not so much the PGA. PGA is whatever, and the Open, I don't even know. I'm not even sure where the Open is this year. But yeah, I mean, I don't really get fired up for like the non-major events unless it's like unless it's like I like the Travelers, and stuff like that. But yeah, more of the same. Liv, I think Liv pretty much has their roster. I mean, here and there, I've heard this morning that Mito Pereira might defect, but I mean, it's whatever. He had one good tournament last year, and now all of a sudden he's on the map.
One good tournament once he crapped his pants in.
Like a good stretch of weeks at the PGA for the PGA and stuff like that. But other than that, I think Liv pretty much has their roster set, give or take a few players. And I'm more excited to see what they're going to do in the second year, like to be a little bit different than what they did last year to try and get more fans.
Well, I think it's good that they're going to courses that the PGA Tour used to be at. The one in I can't think. It was a famous tour. I can't think of the name. Was it maybe New
They
Mexico?
They should come to friggin' Boston then.
Well, I mean,
should have it at
TBC.
Oh, it's a TBC. That's right. I'm an idiot. Yeah,
that won't fly. And I don't think it doesn't seem like they're coming back to the international. But they really haven't released their full schedule yet.
No,
they're supposed to be.
I'm pretty sure that people in the media center when we were there said they're not coming back here next year.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, the international is not that great of a place to watch golf anyway. So
no, it was terrible. The layout was atrocious.
It wasn't that great of a place. Other than if you want to see like the first tee, like the 18th green. Other than that, if you wanted to walk somewhere, it was impossible. So
yeah.
But yeah, so I think exciting things about this year. One is obviously the continuing battle between the PGA and Liv. It's obviously continuing court cases. Is there's the 9/11 families stuff going back and forth, and you have the PGA investigating the Saudi PIF or whatever. Now there's all these reports that Vince McMahon is going to sell the WWE to Saudi Arabia.
Well, I heard he sold it, and then didn't you say that they wanted him back as CEO?
I don't know that it was trending on Twitter like all night. Like the stocks, WWE stock went through the roof, and then all of a sudden the next day there was all these people saying that it's not a done deal and didn't happen or whatever. So who really knows? It was a strange. Not that this is a WWE podcast, but it was a strange few days because then all of a sudden Stephanie resigned, and left the company.
Well, rumors were that she was on leave anyways, and that she kind of extended the leave more. So
And one thing I'm interested in this year is that it is a Ryder Cup year. It's a road Ryder Cup year for the U.S. But I
it's
feel
Italy, right?
yeah. But I feel like for the first time in as far back as I can remember, the European team has, and it's not necessarily just because of Liv, but obviously as a part of it.
It is.
The first time I can remember, the European team has more questions than the U.S. team.
Yeah, they bring that team they brought to what's it called? Whistling Straits. I mean, they're gonna absolutely throttle them.
But now they can't bring that team because Sergio's gone, Ian Poulter is gone. So I think for the first time, I think it's a huge advantage for the U.S. obviously, and because we generally know our guy who's on the team for the most part, other than a couple of guys that'll sneak in here or there. Maybe your boy Kids will sneak in. So I think for the first time, there's a lot of questions about the Europeans, and no one really knows what they're going to look like. I mean, Rory's fine, John Rahm is fine. Fleetwood and Molinari killed the U.S. in a bunch of years ago. Then the last Ryder Cup, they were non-factors, and now they've really become non-factors in the game of golf. More so Molinari than Fleetwood.
Yeah.
Even that, but even him. So, it's going to be interesting. I think it's obviously a huge. This could turn into a big run for U.S. Ryder Cups. They have an opportunity here to really, take.
And what is it? Does the PGA run the Ryder Cup, or does PGA run the President's Cup?
PGA Tour runs the President's Cup.
The President's Cup, okay.
Yeah, but I
couldn't remember which one it was.
But does the PGA of America run the Ryder Cup or the overseeing? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
I'm
It
not
could
really
be like
sure.
a PGA and R&A type of.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah.
But the tour runs the Ryder Cup. I mean, the tour runs the President's Cup. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why there was so much controversy about these guys not playing, because technically, you can play anywhere, and you're an international. You should be able to play for the international team, whether you play for the PGA Tour or the G Pro Tour, or if you're good enough to make the team, in theory you should play. So, but yeah, so there'll be definitely some controversy with again the Ryder Cups in Europe, and I was fine during a Ryder Cup year. But that's always kind of the overarching kind of storyline. It's almost like that kind of makes or breaks the year in a lot of ways because there's so much pressure on it, and it's become such a big thing now, more so than it was like before. Obviously, that's now it's become like such a thing with U.S. golf is in such a spot where they really should be able to rattle off a few in a row here. It feels like to me. So we'll see. That'll be an overarching storyline, something that we'll think about throughout the course of the year. But exciting to have pro golf back. I felt bad for Morikawa last week at the Century Tournament of Champions, just completely falling apart. But John Rahm obviously played amazing to catch him. And this week is the Sony Open, so you have some nighttime golf. Obviously, it's only January, but it's still fun to see these guys out there and see what they look like, because it gives you an idea of what they're going to be in some ways. So a big year for pro golf with that stuff. As we mentioned, when people are pumped about it, it shook the social media universe yesterday. Netflix dropped their trailer for their PGA Tour docuseries called Full Swing. That dropped on Wednesday. And I don't know what the expectations were. I don't know what people were expecting, but I thought it looked pretty good. I mean, I think it's big that the live guys are in it. And obviously that part of it is going to be covered for sure. I mean, it has to be. Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Poulter. Even Poulter says you picked a hell of a year to follow the PGA Tour, which I thought was just an amazing quote, given kind of what was obviously coming. And so I was excited about it. What did you think of the trailer? And does that get you more excited about it than you? I know you were already pumped about it, but what do you think of the trailer?
Yeah, it was cool. It was pretty much what I expected. And like Poulter said, it was the perfect way to start a fucking series off. Oops, sorry. perfect way to start a series off. There was nothing else nothing more you could want when you're trying to get a series off the ground.
Yeah, I think some of the cool things are going to be doing like the behind the scenes stuff, not necessarily on the course. Like you see, like they show clips like I think Justin Thomas was driving somewhere, and guys were playing with their kids or whatever. I don't know every scene that was in. I don't remember every scene that was in the trailer, but you get the point. Like, I think some of like the behind the scenes stuff would be cool to watch too, because you want to see what these guys do. Like, what do they do when they get home from around, So, I think that will be exciting as well. So, lots going on. As far as the rest of the week goes, obviously the Chatfield thing is the biggest story from about Sunday to Wednesday or so. And then of course you have the NFL playoffs. Do you want to give some quick NFL playoff takes? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many upsets they're going to be. I mean, Buffalo.
Cowboys smoke Brady.
No.
Already calling it. Cowboys smoking Brady. That's really all I care about. I don't really care about anything else.
Giants being the Vikings.
Dude, the Vikings are freaking frauds. But I just don't think the Giants have enough to beat them. I mean, I'd like to see it. I mean, I hate the Giants, but but I don't know. It's possible. I just don't think the Giants have enough to beat them.
I mean, that's really the only two games that are interesting. I mean, Buffalo and the Dolphins is going to be a disaster.
Oh, Buffalo by 30. Yeah, by 30 at least.
That's going to be like Georgia TCU, the NFL version.
Please.
The other games I remember, Baltimore is playing Cincinnati, but Lamar Jackson.
Cincinnati's going to roll by 20.
So there's really only two somewhat interesting games on
the Bucks
divisional
weekend on Monday,
weekend.
right?
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Bucks are on Monday.
Yeah, Monday night.
Yeah. So
divisional weekend is really the best weekend for the playoffs. This extra wild card thing, I'm not really sure I'm a fan of it.
Well, I mean, it gives the chance for upsets. I mean, you either get a decent upset or just a blowout.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Bills rolls, Cincy rolls. I think Dallas rolls, and that's pretty much it. Oh, who's Seattle's playing? Who?
Oh yes, San Fran. The question with San Fran is you don't know what Brock Purdy's going to look like. Is he going to crap his pants in the playoffs? I mean, it doesn't feel like he is, but
I mean, you got to think that.
And that's a big rivalry. Obviously.
Yeah, you got to think it's Bridgewater, right? Not Bridgewater. Geno Smith. You got to think Geno Smith has a shot with the way he's played all year. I mean,
yeah. You got to think, man. That's San Fran.
I mean, if it was Jimmy G, then I think that they probably wouldn't have a chance. But Purdy's untested. Obviously, he only played half the season, or about a quarter to the half of the season. I mean, I don't think so. I think San Fran will handle them, but I mean, crazier craps happen. So
it most certainly has. Well, that's what we have going on. Thanks everybody for following along on this Golf News podcast. We touched on a bit of everything, and so we will keep you posted throughout the weekend on GolfNewsRI.com. Check out the Davis Chatfield preview that will be coming up in the next couple of days, and obviously we'll keep you updated on other stuff as well. There's a handful of things in the proverbial hopper, some of which I just can't tell you yet, so I'm not. But stay tuned for some more great golf content, both locally and and professionally and nationally. So we'll have all that stuff coming for you this weekend. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Enjoy the golf. Enjoy the football, hockey, whatever else you're watching. And we will talk to you next week. Rich, good to have you back. Thanks for joining the show.
Yes, sir.
We'll talk to you next week. This is the Golf Dudes Podcast. Bye.